Hi. So everyone, there is somebody new here who wants to say hello. It's this little guy. Isn't he cute? Yeah. So yes, as most of you know, we have 8 chapters left, and we have 7 weekends before I go to New Zealand. So I will have to figure out which Saturday or sorry, which Sunday it will be 2 chapters instead of 1. So I need to look all the chapters through to see how many pages there are, so I can get the chapters which are shortest together. I do not know where my mods are. Maybe I should write and annoy my mod. But it's nice to see you all today. I really appreciate it. Oh. That was nice. Oh, that was why. I still had a stream running in the background. So it was like, but why is this? This doesn't sound like Lord of the Rings. Not a damn second. Oh, nice. So can everyone see what is happening here? And the music is running. It's gonna be good this day. Nice. But how have all of your weeks been? Of your week, not weeks. Okay, I'm gonna be right back because else I forget to take my medicine. 2 seconds. Mm. For me, it has been a little bit of a nightmare at first. Too much to do, too little energy. You probably all know it at some point. Mm. Mm. Nom nom. But yes, let's see how many pages we have today. Oh, that wasn't a lot. We have 21 pages? Hmm. Well, it looks like it's next time we are gonna have the longer stream. Well, nice. So yeah. So next Sunday will be a longer stream where we read 30 pages instead of 20. And now I need to get my tea I get the tea back up from the tea. So just so you all know, about mid-May, I will come with an announcement of my streaming times while I'm in New Zealand. Um, so yeah, we will see when that will be, but it's definitely not gonna be the same time as now. I can promise you all that. So let's get to reading. Woohoo! Chapter 2, The Land of the Shadow. Sorry, the Land of Shadow. Sam had just wits enough left to thrust the vial back into his breast. Run, Mr. Frodo, he cried. No, not that way. There's sheer drop over that wall. Follow me. Down the road from the gate they fled. In 50 paces, with a swift bend round a jutting bastion of the cliff, it took them out of the sight from the tower. They had escaped for the moment. Cowering back against the rock, they drew breath, and then they clutched at their hearts. Piercing now on the wall beside the ruined gate, the Nazgul sent out its deadly cries. All the cliffs echoed. In terror they stumbled. Soon the road bent sharply eastward again, and exposed them for a dreadful moment to view from the tower. As they flitted across, they glanced back and saw the great black shape upon the battlement. Then they plunged down between high rock walls in a cutting that fell steeply to join the Morgul road. They came to the way meeting. There was still no signs of orcs, nor of an answer to the cry of the Nazgul, but they knew that the silence would not last long. At any moment now the hunt would begin. This won't do, Sam, said Frodo. If we were real orcs, we ought to be dashing back to the tower, not running away. The first enemy we meet will know us. We must get off this road somehow. But we can't, said Sam, not without wings. The eastern faces of the Ifalduath were sheer, falling in cliff and precipice to the black through that lay between them and the inner ridge. A short way beyond the way meeting, after another steep incline, a flying bridge of stone leaped over the chasm and bore the road across into the tumbled slopes and glens of the Morgai. With a desperate spurt, Frodo and Sam dashed along the bridge, but they had hardly reached its further end when they heard the hue and cry begin. Away behind them, now high above the mountainside, loomed the tower of Cirith Ungol. Its stones glowing dully. Suddenly its hard bell clanged again, and then broke into a shattering peal. Horns sounded, and now from beyond the bridge end came answering cries. Down in the dark through, cut off from the dying glare of Orodruin. Frodo and Sam could not see ahead, but already they heard the tramp of iron-shod feet, and upon the road there rang swift clatter of hoofs. Quick, Sam, over we go, cried Frodo. They scrambled on to the low parapet of the bridge. Fortunately, there was no longer any dreadful drop into the gulf, for the slopes of the Morgai had already risen almost to the level of the road. but it was too dark for them to guess the depth of the fall. Well, here goes, Mr. Frodo, said Sam. Goodbye. He let go. Frodo followed, and even as they fell, they heard the rush of horsemen sweeping over the bridge and the rattle of orc feet running up behind. But Sam would have laughed if he had dared. Half fearing a breaking plunge down onto the unseen rocks, the hobbits landed in a drop of no more than a dozen feet, with a thud and a crunch into the last thing that they had expected, a tangle of thorny bushes. There lay Sam's There Sam lay still, softly sucking a scratched hand. When the sound of hoof and foot had passed, he ventured a whisper. Bless me, Mr. Frodo, but I didn't know as anything grew in Mordor. But if I had a known, this is just what I would have looked for. These thorns must be a foot long by the feel of them. They've stuck through everything I got on. Wish I put that mail shirt on. Orc mail doesn't keep these thorns out, said Frodo. Not even a leather jerkin is any good. They had a struggle to get out of the thicket. The thorns and briars were as tough as wire and as clinging as claws. Their cloaks were rent and tattered before they broke free at last. Now down we go, Sam, Frodo whispered. Down into the valley, quick, and then turn northward. As soon as we can. Day was coming again in the world outside, and far beyond the glooms of Mordor, the sun was climbing over the eastern rim of Middle-earth. But here all was still dark as night. The mountains smoldered, and its fires went out. The glare faded from the cliffs. The eastern wind that had been blowing ever since they left Ithilien now seemed dead. Slowly and painfully they clambered down, groping, stumbling, scrambling, among rocks and briar and dead wood, in the blind shadows, down and down until they could go no further. At length they stopped, and sat side by side, their backs against a boulder. Both were sweating. If Shagrat himself was to offer me a glass of water, I'd shake his hand, said Sam. Don't say such things, said Frodo. It only makes it worse. Then he stretched himself out, dizzy and weary, and he spoke no more for a while. At last, with a struggle, he got up again. To his amazement, he found that Sam was asleep. Wake up, Sam, he said. Come on, it's time we made another effort. Sam scrambled to his feet. Well, I never, he said. I must have dropped off. It's a long time, Mr. Frodo, since I've had a proper sleep, and my eyes just closed down on their own. Frodo now led the way, northward as near as he could guess, among the stones and boulders lying thick at the bottom of the great ravine. But presently he stopped again. It's no good, Sam, he said. I can't manage it. This mail shirt, I mean. Not in my state. Even my mithril coat seemed heavy when I was tired. This is far heavier. And what's the use of it? We shan't win through by fighting. But we may have some to do, said Sam. And there's knives and stray arrows. That Gollum isn't dead, for one thing. I don't like to think of you with naught, but a bit of leather between you and a stab in the dark. Look here, Sam, dear lad, said Frodo. I'm tired, very. I haven't a hope left, but I have to go on trying to get to the mountain, as long as I can move. The ring is enough. This extra weight is killing me. It must go. But don't think I'm ungrateful. I hate to think of the foul work you must have had among the bodies to find it for me. Don't talk about it, Mr. Frodo. Bless you. I'd carry you on my back uh, if I could. Let it go then. Hi, Stevie. Welcome in. Frodo laid aside his cloak and took off the orc mail and flung it away. He shivered a little. What I really need is something warm, he said. It's gone cold, or else I've caught a chill. You can have my cloak, Mr. Frodo, said Sam. He slung his pack and took out the elven cloak. How's this, Mr. Frodo, he said. You wrap that orc rag close around you and put the belt outside it. Then this can go over all. It don't look quite orc fashion, but it'll keep you warmer, and I dare say it'll keep you from harm better than other gear. It was made by the lady. No, that's always my sinuses, which are fluffed. And then I just woke up from a nap 90 minutes ago. And then I have English biscuits. Or British. I don't know. These. If I'm not wrong, it's for tea. Mm. Frodo took the cloak and fastened the brooch. That's better, he said. I feel much lighter. I can go on now. But this blind dark seems to be getting into my heart. As I lay in prison, Sam, I tried to remember the Brandywine and Woody End and the water running through the mill at Hobbiton, but I can't see them now. There now, Mr. Frodo. It's you that's talking of water this time, said Sam. If only the lady could see us or hear us, I'd say to her, Your ladyship, all we want is light and water, just clean water and plain daylight. Better than any jewels, begging your pardon, but it's a long way to Lorien. Sam sighed and waved his hand towards the heights of the Ifeldoath, now only to be guessed as a deeper blackness against the black sky. They started off again. They had not gone far when Frodo paused. There's a black rider over us, he said. I can feel it. We had better keep still for a while. Crouched under a great boulder, they sat facing back westward and did not speak for some time. Then Frodo breathed a sigh of relief. It's past, he said. They stood up, and then they both stared in wonder. Away to the left, southward, against a sky that was turning grey. The peaks and high ridges of the Great Range began to appear dark and black, visible shapes. Light was growing behind them. Slowly it crept towards the north. There was a battle far above in the high spaces of the air. The billowing clouds of Mordor were being driven back, their edges tattering as a wind out of the living world came up and swept the fumes and smokes towards the dark land of their home. Under the lifting skirts of the dreary canopy, dim light leaked into Mordor, like pale morning through the grimmed window of a prison. Look at it, Mr. Frodo, said Sam. Look at it. The wind's changed. Something's had happened. He's not having it all his own way. His darkness is breaking up out in the world there. I wish I could see what is going on. It was the morning of the 15th of March, and over the vale of the Anduin, the sun was rising above the eastern shadow, and the southwest wind was blowing. Theoden lay dying on the Pelennor fields. As Frodo and Sam stood and gazed, the rim of the light spread all along the line of the Ifalduath, and then they saw a shape moving at a great speed out of the west. At first, only a black speck against the glimmering strip above the mountain tops, but growing until it plunged like a bolt into the dark canopy and passed high above them. As it went, it sent out a long, shrill cry, the voice of a Nazgul. But this cry no longer held any terror for them. It was a cry of woe and dismay, ill tidings for the Dark Tower. The Lord of the Ring Wraiths had met his doom. What did I tell you? Something's happened, cried Sam. The war's going well, said Shagrat. But Gorbek, he wasn't so sure. And he was right there, too. Things are looking up, Mr. Frodo. Haven't you got some hope now? Well, no, not much, Sam, Frodo sighed. That's way beyond the mountains. We are going east, not west. And I'm so tired. And the ring is so heavy, Sam. And I begin to see it in my mind all the time, like a great wheel of fire. Sam's quick spirit sank again at once. He looked at his master anxiously, and he took his hand. Come, Mr. Frodo, he said. I've got one thing I wanted. A bit of light. Enough to help us, and yet I guess it's dangerous too. Try a bit further, and then we'll lie close and have a rest. But take a morsel to eat now, a bit of the elf's food. It may hearten you. Hmm? What's up, Leo? I went quiet? When did I went quiet? Go quiet. It was just because I was taking like some Belgian waffle. Yeah, I can't go higher than this. I am at the moment because then I go into the red. Yeah, snacking is necessary at sometimes. Oh yeah, remind me when we are done. That I need to find the new bunnies I have gotten. Hi, Jen. Hi. Look at that pretty Jen. Hmm? This one is new, but I still have some in my bag from a crafting fair. Right in your face. That's where the pretty Jen is. Right in your face. There is. Leo will agree with me that there is a pretty Jen in your face. Right, Leo? Leo is like, Fluffna, I'm not going into this. Yeah, exactly. Leo is just like, yeah, don't pull me into this. I didn't tell people to lie. I asked if Leo agreed. Why are they in water? Are you doing dishes? Damn. Leo is listening to the Bun Bun in the shower. Floofy Lilo Floof. Flop, flop, flop. That's a lot of times I'm listening to people in the shower. You can be about Chico Wow Wow Earthling. One of my mods, can we make like a pinged, no, a pinned message with the with something about next stream being a long one with 2 chapters? I would really like that if one of you can make that happen. Thank you, Jin. Thank you. Yes. Okay. Sharing a wafer of lembas and munching it as best they could with their parched mouth. Frodo and Sam plodded on. The light, though no more than a grey dusk, was now enough for them to see that they were deep in the valley between the mountains. It sloped up gently northward, and at its bottom went the bed of a now dry and withered stream. Beyond its stony course, they saw a beaten path that wound its way under the feet of the westward cliff. Had they known, they could have reached it quicker, for it was a track that left the main Mogul road at the western bridge end and went down by a long stair cut in the rock to the valley's bottom. It was used by patrols or by messengers going swiftly to lesser posts and strongholds north away, between Sirithungul and the narrows of Ironmouth, the iron jaws of Karagagren. It was perilous for the hobbits to use such a path, but they needed speed, and Frodo felt that he could not face the toil of scrambling among the boulders or in the trackless glens of the Morgai, and he judged that northward was maybe the way that the hunters would least expect them to take. They rode east to the plain or the pass back westward. Those they would search most thoroughly. Only when he was well north of the tower did he mean to turn and seek for some way to take him east. East on the last desperate stage of this journey. So now they crossed the stony bed and took the Orc path, and for some time they marched along it. The cliffs at their left were overhung, and they could not be seen from above, but the path made many bends, and at each bend they gripped the sword hilts and went forward cautiously. The light grew no stronger, for Adruin was still belching forth a great fume that, beaten upwards by the opposing airs, mounted higher and higher until it reached a region above the wind and spread in an immeasurable roof whose central pillar rose out of the shadows beyond their view. They had trudged for more than an hour when they heard a sound that brought them to a halt. Unbelievable, but unmistakably water trickling out of a gully to the left, so sharp and narrow that it looked as if the black cliff had been cloven by some huge axe. Water came dripping down, the last remains, maybe, of some sweet rain gathered from sunlit areas, but ill fated to fall on the last to fall at last upon the walls of the black land and wander fruitless down into the dust. Here it came out of the rock in a little falling streamlet and flowed across the path and turning southward and sorry and turning south ran away swiftly to be lost among the dead stones. Sam sprang towards it. If I ever see the lady again, I will tell her, he cried. Light and now water. Then he stopped. Let me drink first, Mr. Frodo, he said. All right, but there's room enough for two. I didn't mean that, said Sam. I mean, if it's poisonous or something, that will show its badness quick. Well, better me than you, master, if you understand me. I do, but I think we will trust our luck together, Sam, or our blessing. Still, be careful now, if it's very cold. The water was cool, but not icy, and it had an unpleasant taste, at once bitter and oily, or so they would have said at home. Here it seemed beyond all praise, and beyond fear or prudence. They drank their fill, and Sam replenished his water bottle. After that, Frodo felt easier, and they went on for several miles, until the broadening of the road and the beginnings of a rough wall along its edge warned them that they were drawing near to another alcove. This is where we turn aside, Sam, said Frodo, and we must turn east. He sighed as he looked at the gloomy ridges across the valley. I have just about enough strength left to find some hole away up there, and then I must rest a little. The riverbed was now some way below the path. They scrambled down to it and began to cross it. To their surprise, they came down. To their surprise, they came upon dark pools fed by threads of water trickling down from some source higher up in the valley. Upon its outer marches, under the westward mountains, Mordor was dying land, but it was not yet dead. And here things still grew, harsh, twisted, bitter, struggling for life. In the glens of the Morgai, on the other side of the valley, low, scrappy trees lurked and clung. Coarse grey grass tussocks fought with the stones, and the withered mosses crawled on them, and every, everywhere great writhing, tangled brambles sprawled. Some had long stabbing thorns, some hooked barbs that rent like knives. The sullen shriveled leaves of a past year hung on them, grating and rattling in the sad airs. But the maggot-ridden buds were only just opening. Flies, dun, or grey or black marked like orcs, with a red-eyed shape blotched, buzzed and stung, and above the briar thickets, clouds of hungry midges danced and reeled. Orc gear's no good, said Sam, waving his arms. I wish I'd got an orc's hide. At least Frodo could go no further. They had climbed up a narrow shelving ravine, but they still had a long way to go before they could even come in sight of the last craggy ridge. I must rest now, said Sam. I must rest now, Sam, and sleep if I can, said Frodo. He looked about, but there seemed nowhere even for an animal to crawl into in this dismal country. At length, tired out, they slunk under a curtain of brambles and hung down like a mat over a low rock face. There they sat and made such a meal as they could, keeping back the precious slumbers for the evil days ahead. They ate the half of what remained in Sam's bag of Faramir's provisions, some dried fruit, and a small slip of cured meat, and they sipped some water. They had drunk again from the pools in the valley, but they were very thirsty again. There was a bitter tang in the air of Mordor that dried the mouth. When Sam thought of water, even his hopeful spirit quailed. Beyond the Morgai, there was the dreadful plain of Gorgoroth to cross. Now you go to sleep first, Mr. Frodo, he said. It's getting dark again. I reckon this day is nearly over. Frodo sighed and was asleep almost before the words were spoken. Sam struggled with his own weariness, and he took Frodo's hand, and there he sat silent till deep night fell. Then at last, to keep himself awake, he crawled from the hiding place and looked out. The land seemed full of creaking and cracking and sly noises, but there was no sound of voice or foot. Far above the Ifel Duath in the west, the night sky was still dim and pale. There, peeping among the cloud rack above the dark, for high up in the mountains, Sam saw a white star twinkle for a while. The beauty of it smote his heart as he looked up out of forsaken land, and hope returned to him. For like a shaft clear and cold, the thought pierced him that in the end the shadow was only a small and passing thing. There was light and high beauty forever beyond its reach. His song in the tower had been defiance rather than hope, for then he was thinking of himself. Now for a moment his own fate, and even his master's, ceased to trouble him. He crawled back into the brambles and laid himself by Frodo's side, and putting away all fear he cast himself into a deep untroubled sleep. They walked together, hand in hand. Sam was almost fresh, ready for another day, but Frodo sighed. His sleep had been uneasy, full of dreams of fire, and waking brought him no comfort. Still, his sleep had not been without any healing virtue. He was stronger, more able to bear his burden one stage further. They did not know the time, nor how long they had slept, but after a morsel of food and a sip of water, they went up the ravine until it ended in a sharp slope of screes and sliding stones. There, the last living things gave up their struggle. The tops of the Morgai were grassless, bare, jagged, barren as a slate. After after much wandering and search, they found a way that could climb, and with at least 100 feet of clawing scramble they were up. They came to a cleft between two dark crags, and passing through, found themselves on the very edge of the last fence of Mordor. Below them, at the bottom of a fall of some 1500 feet, lay the inner plain stretching away into a formless gloom beyond their sight. The wind of the world blew now from the west, and the great clouds were lifted high, floating away eastward. But still only a grey light came to the dreary fields of Gorgoroth. Their smoke trailed on the ground and lurked in hollows, and fumes leaked from fissures in the earth. Still far away, 40 miles at least, they saw Mount Doom, its feet founded in ashen ruin, its huge cone rising to a great height, where its reeking head was swathed in cloud. Its fire were now dimmed, and it stood in smoldering slumber, as threatening and dangerous as a sleeping beast. Behind it there hung a vast shadow, ominous as a thunder cloud, the veils of Barad-dûr that was reared far away upon a long spur of the ashen mountains thrust down from the north. The dark power was deep in thought, and the eye turned inward, pondering tidings of doubt and danger. A bright sword and a stern and kingly face it saw, and for a while it gave little thought to other things, and all its great stronghold, gate on gate, and tower on tower, was wrapped in a brooding gloom. Frodo and Sam gazed out in mingled loathing and wonder on this hateful land. Between them and the smoking mountain, and about its north and south, all seemed ruinous and dead, a desert burned and choked. They wondered how the lord of this realm maintained and fed his slaves and his armies, yet armies he had, as far as their eyes could reach, along the skirts of the Morgai and a word southward. There were camps, some of tents, some ordered like small towns. One of the largest of these was right below them. Barely a mile out into the plain, it clustered like some huge nest of insects, with straight dreary streets of huts and long low drab buildings. About it the ground was busy with folk going to and fro. A wide road ran it south to east to join the Morgul Way, and along it many lines of small black shapes were hurrying. Okay, so now we will take a little break. Because we are running in and out in about 3 seconds, so I will see you all in a little bit. And we are back. And now I can show you all the bonbons I have gotten. This one. This is a new bonbon. I got it yesterday. Isn't it adorable? Then I got this. No, it's not. None of these are from the storage. And I got this. These two together was less than €7. And then we have this. Yeah, very good deal. Yeah. That one was nice. I really like that one. No, it's it's a bunny in a planting pot with its butt up. Miffy? No, I'm not sure. Oh my god. Yes. Please. Bonbons. And I'm gonna need to get some waffles with me to go back. Because those Dutch waffles are nice. I really like those. They didn't last long here at my home. Hmm. Yes, please. Do you have authentic stroop waffles in the US, Ashley? Yeah, they probably filled lot more sugar in which uh, than which is necessary. Thank you, I think. Yeah, I know, Jen. Um, but I also know that some Dutch families are in the U.S., like moved to the U.S. at some point. Oh, food. Yeah, I know nothing about that. Stroop waffles and cheese. Yes. Oh yeah, I had to send Andrea all of the new bunnies. They're flying! Woohoo! Yes, we'll blunt the knives, bend the forks, press the bottles and burn the corks. That's the bristles and crack the plates. That's what Bilbo Baggins hates. The mud and the mat, even bottles of pretty mat. That's the floor. That's an hundred every door. That's it out and also roll. That's what Bilbo Baggins hates. Whee! He's here. Mwahahaha. Wah. Wah. Yes. That's here. How much do we have left? Page 90. Okay, so we have 11 pages left or something like that. So, yes. Woohoo! He does. Okay. I don't like the look of things at all, said Sam. Pretty hopeless, I call it. Saving that were such a lot of folk, there must be wells of water, not to mention food. And these are men, not orcs. Or my eyes are all wrong. Neither he nor Frodo knew anything of the great slave worked fields away south in this wide realm, beyond the fumes of the mountain by the dark sad waters of Lake Noonan, nor of the great roads that ran east and south in Trapperty lands, from which the soldiers of the Tower brought long wagon trains of goods and booty and fresh slaves. And the booty? What the fluff? Here in the northward regions were the mines and forges, and the mustering of long planned war. And here the dark power, moving its armies like pieces on the board, was gathering them together. Its first moves, the first feelers of its strength, had been checked upon its western line. Southward and northward, for the moment it withdrew them and brought up new forces, massing them above Tirigogor, and for a avenging stroke. And if it had also been its purpose to defend the mountain against all approach, it could scarcely have done more. Well, Sam went on, whatever they have to eat and drink, we can't get it. There's no way down that I can see, and we couldn't cross all that open country, crawling with enemies even if we did get down. Still, we shall have a try, said Frodo. It's no worse than I expected. I never hoped to get across. I can't see any hope of it now, but I've still got to do the best I can. At present, that is to avoid being captured as long as possible, so we must still go northward. I think and see what it is like where the open plain is narrower. I guess what it'll be like, said Sam. Where it's narrower, the orcs and men will just be packed closer. You'll see, Mr. Frodo. I dare, shall I say, if we ever get so far, said Frodo, and turned away. They soon found that it was impossible to make their way along the crest of the Morgai, or anywhere along its higher levels. Pathless as they were, and scored with deep gulls, in the end they were forced to go back down the ravine that they had climbed and seek for a way along the valley. It was rough going, for they dared not cross over to the path on the westward side. After a mile or more, they saw huddled in the hollow of the cliff's foot the Orkhold that they had guessed was near at hand, a wall and a cluster of stone huts set about the dark mouth of a cave. There was no movement to be seen, but the hobbits crept by cautiously, keeping as much as they could through the thorn brakes that grew thickly at this point, along both sides of the old watercourse. They went 2 or 3 miles further, and the Orkhold was hidden from sight behind them, but they had hardly begun to breathe more freely again when harsh and loud they heard orc voices. Quickly they slunk out of sight behind a brown and stunted bush. The voices drew nearer. Presently 2 orcs came into view. One was clad in ragged brown and was armed with a bow of horn. It was of a small breed, black-skinned, with wide and snuffling nostrils, evidently a tracker of some kind. The other was a big fighting orc, like those of Shagrad's company. Hearing the token of the eye, he also had a bow at his back and carried a short, broad-headed spear. As usually, they were quarreling, and being of different breeds, they used the common speech after their fashion. Hardly 20 paces from where the hobbits lurked, the small orc stopped. Nah, it snarled. I'm going home. It pointed across the valley to the Orkhold. No good burying my nose out on stones anymore. There's not a trace left. I say, I've lost the scent, though giving way to you. It went up into the hills, not along the valley, I tell you. Not much use are you, you little snifflers, said the big orc. I reckon eyes are better than your snotty noses. Then what have you seen with them? Snarled the other. Garn. You don't even know what you're looking for. Whose blame's that? Said the soldier. Not mine. That comes from higher up. First they say it's a great elf in bright armor. Then it's a sort of small dwarf man. Then it must be a pack of rebel Urugai. Or maybe it's all the lot together. Said the tracker. They've lost their heads. That's what it is. And some of the bosses are going to lose their skins too. I guess if what I hear is true, tower raided and all, and hundreds of your lads done it, and prisoner got away. If that's the way you fighters go on, small wonder there's bad news from the battles. Who says that's bad news? Shouted the soldier. Or who says there isn't? That's cursed rebel talk, and I'll stick you if you don't shut it down. See? All right, said the tracker. I'll say no more and go on thinking. But what's the black sneak got to do with it all? That gobbler with the flapping hands? I don't know. Nothing, maybe. But he's up to no good. Nosing around, I'll wager. Curse him! No sooner had he slipped us and run off than word came he's wanted alive. Wanted quick. Well, I hope they get him and put him through it, growled the tracker. He messed up the scent back there, pinching that cast-off mail shirt that he found, and paddling all round the place before I could get there. It saves his life anyhow, said the soldier. Why, before I knew he was wanted, I've shot him. As neat, at 50 paces right in the back, but he ran on. Darn, you missed him, said the tracker. First you shoot wild, then you run too slow, and then you send for the poor trackers. I've had enough of you, he loped off. You come back, shouted the soldier, or I'll report you. Who to? Not to your precious Shagrat. He won't be captain any more. I'll give your name and number to the Nazgul, said the soldier, lowering his voice to a hiss. One of them's in charge at the tower now. The other halted, and his voice was full of fear and rage. You cursed, peaching sneak thief, he yelled. You can't do your job, and you can't even stick by your own folk. Go to your filthy shriekers, and may they freeze the flesh off you. If the enemy doesn't get them first. They have done in number one, I've heard, and I hope it's true. The big orc, spear in hand, leapt after him, but the tracker, springing behind a stone, put an arrow in his eye as he ran up, and he fell with a crash. The otter ran off across the valley and disappeared. For a while, the hobbit sat in silence. At length, Sam stirred. Well, I call that neat as neat, he said. If this nice friendliness would spread out in Mordor, half our trouble would be over. Quiet, Sam, Frodo whispered. There may be others about. We have evidently had a very narrow escape, and the hunt was hotter on our tracks than we guessed. But that is the spirit of Mordor, Sam. And they are spread to every corner of it. Orcs have always behaved like that, or so all tales say. When they are on their own, but you can't get much hope out of it. They hate us far more, all together and all the time. If those two had seen us, they would have dropped all the quarrel until we were dead. There was another long silence, Sam broke it again, but with a whisper this time. Did you hear what they said about that gobbler, Mr. Frodo? I told you Gollum wasn't dead yet, didn't I? Yes, I remember. And I wondered how you knew, said Frodo. Well, come on. I think we had better not move out from here again until it's gone quite dark. So you should tell me how you know and all about what happened, if you can do it quietly. I'll try, said Sam. But when I think of that stinker, I get so hot that I could shout. There the hobbit sat under the cover of the thorny bush, while the drear light of Mordor faded slowly into a deep and starless night. And Sam spoke into Frodo's ear all that he could find words for of Gollum's treacherous attack, the horror of Shelob, and his own adventures with the orcs. When he had finished, Frodo said nothing, but took Sam's hand and pressed it. At length he stirred. Well, I suppose we must be going on again, he said. I wonder how long it will be before we really are caught, and all the toiling and slinking will be over, and in vain. He stood up. It's dark, and we cannot use the lady's glass. Keep it safe for me, Sam. I have nowhere to keep it now, except in my hand, and I shall need both hands for the blind knight. But Sting I give to you. I got an orc blade, but I do not think it will be my part to strike any blow again. It was difficult and dangerous moving in the night in the pathless lands. But slowly and with much stumbling, the two hobbits toiled on hour by hour northward along the eastern edge of the stony valley. When a grey light crept back over the western heights, long after the day had opened in the lands beyond, they went into hiding again and slept a little. Turn by turn, in his times of waking, Sam was busy with thoughts of food, at least when Frodo roused himself and spoke of eating and making ready for yet another effort. He asked the question that was troubling him most. Begging your pardon, Mr. Frodo, he said, but have you any notion how far there still is to go? No, not any clear notion, Sam, Frodo answered. In Rivendell, before I set out, I was shown a map of Mordor that was made before the enemy came back here. But I only remember it vaguely. I remember clearest that there was a place in the north where the western range and the northern range sent out spurs that nearly met. That must be 20 leagues at least from the bridge back by the tower. It might be a good point at which to cross. But of course, if we get there, we shall be further than we were from the mountain, 60 miles from it. I, I should think. I guess that we have gone about 12 leagues north from the bridge now. Even if all goes well, I could hardly reach the mountain in a week. I'm afraid, Sam, that the burden will get very heavy, and I shall go still slower as we get nearer. Sam sighed. That's just what as I feared, he said. Well, to say nothing of water, we got to eat less, Mr. Frodo, or else move a bit quicker. At any rate, we're still in this valley. One more bite and all the food's ended, save the elf's whey bread. I'll try and be a little I'll try and be a bit quicker, Sam, said Frodo, drawing a deep breath. Come on, then. Let's start another march. It was not quite yet dark again. They plodded along on into the night. The hours passed in a very stumbling trudge, with a few brief halts. At the first hint of grey light under the skirts of the canopy of shadow, They hid themselves again in a dark hollow under an overhanging stone. Slowly the light grew until it was clearer than it had been. A strong wind from the west was now driving the fumes of Mordor from the upper airs. Before long, the hobbits could make out the shape of land for some miles about them. The drought between the mountains and the Morgai had steadily dwindled as it climbed upwards, and the inner ridge was now no more than a shelf in the steep faces of the Ifelduath. But to the east it fell as sheerly as ever down into Gorgoroth. Ahead the watercourse came to an end, broken steps of rock, for out from the main range there sprang a high barren spur, thrusting eastward like a wall. To meet it there stretched out from the grey and misty northern range of Ereluthi a long jutting arm, and between the ends there was a narrow gap, Carath and Gren, the Icen Mouth, which lay beyond, which lay the deep vale of Udun. In that dale, beyond the Moranon, the tunnels and deep armories that the servants of Mordor had made for the defense of the Black Gate of the land. And now their lord was gathering in haste great forces to meet the onslaught of the captains of the West. Upon the outthrust spurs, forts and towers were built, and watchfires burned, and all across the gap an earth wall had been raised, and a deep trench delved that could be crossed only by a single bridge. A few miles north, high up in the angle where the western spur branched away from the main range. I have completely lost where I was. The main range. There. Stood the old castle of Durthanc, now one of the many orc holes that clustered about the Dale of Udun. A road already visible in the growing light came winding down from it, until a mile or two from where the hobbits lay it turned east and ran a long shelf cut in the side of the spur, and so went down into the plain and on to the Eisenmouth. I can't fluffing remember which which aircraft I need to go with. How sad. So then they changed one of my modules to the same time that I'm going to take the plane. And I'm like, what the fluff are you doing? Like, what the hell? You should damn brain. Yeah, I don't care. I've already booked the flight, so they can go. They can fluff off. Morons. Yeah, you fluffing fluffs. I'm going down to annoy a Jin. Mm, mm. And your Jin is gonna like my annoying bun butt. Hey, that wasn't what I was saying. I can assure you the last thing Jin is looking at is my butt. So when I turn my behind to you, you're gonna look at my butt. Interesting, Jin. Interesting. No! I said you didn't look at my butt. But at least now I know you do. Okay, then I won't tell you. Of course I would. I'm only a woman, okay? Okay, so on to the reading. To the hobbits, as they looked out, it seemed that all their journey north had been useless. The plain to the right was dim and smoky, and they could see there neither camps nor troops moving, but all that region was under the vigilance of the fourth of Sarak and Grin. We have come to a dead end, Sam, said Frodo. If we go on, we shall only come up to that Orc Tower, but the only road that is to take is that road that comes down from it. Unless we go back, we can't climb up westward or climb down eastward. Then we must take the road, Mr. Frodo, said Sam. We must take it and chance our luck. If there is any luck in Mordor, we might as well give ourselves up as wonder about anymore, or try to go back. Our food won't last. We got to make a dash for it. All right, Sim, said Frodo. Lead me. As long as you've got any hope left, mine is gone. But I can't dash, Sam. I'll just plod along after you. Before you start any more plodding, you need sleep and food, Mr. Frodo. Come and take what you can get of them. He gave Frodo water and an additional wafer of the way bread, and he made a pillow of his cloak for his master's head. Frodo was too weary to debate the matter, and Sam did not tell him that he had drunk the last drop of their water, and eaten Sam's share of the food as well as his own. When Frodo was asleep, Sam bent over him and listened to his breathing and scanned his face. It was lined and thin, and yet in sleep it looked content and unafraid. Well, here goes, master, Sam muttered to himself. I'll have to leave you for a bit and trust to luck. Water we must have, or we'll get no further. Sam crept out, and flitting from stone to stone with more than hobbit care, he went down to the watercourse, and then followed it for some way as he climbed north, until he came to the rock steeps where long ago, no doubt its spring had some gushing down in a little waterfall. All now seemed dry and silent, but refusing to despair, Sam stopped, stooped and listened, and to his delight he caught a sound of trickling. Clambering a few steps up, he found a tiny stream of dark water that came out from the hillside and filled a little bare pool, from which it again spilled and vanished then under the barren stones. Sam tasted the water, and it seemed good enough. Then he drank deeply, refilled the bottle, and turned to go back. At that moment, he caught a glimpse of a black form or shadow flitting among the rocks away near Frodo's hiding place. Biting back cry, he leapt down from the spring and ran, jumping from stone to stone. It was a very creature, difficult to see, but Sam had his doubt about it, He longed to get his hands on its neck, but it heard him coming and slipped quickly away. Sam thought he saw a last fleeting glimpse of it, peering back over the edge of the eastward precipice before it ducked and disappeared. Well, luck did not let me down, muttered Sam. Well, he longed to get his hands on its neck. Don't think too much about it, Jen. But that was a near thing. Isn't it enough to have orcs by the thousand without that stinking villain coming nosing around? I wish he had been shot. He sat down by Frodo and did not rouse him, but he did not dare to go to sleep himself. At last, when he felt his eyes closing and knew that his struggle to keep awake could not go on much longer, he wakened Frodo gently. I knew you would say that, Jen. That Gollum's about again, I'm afraid, Mr. Frodo, he said. Leastways, if it wasn't him, then there's two of him. I went away to find some water, and spied him nosing round just as I turned back. I reckon it isn't safer for both of us to sleep together. And begging your pardon, but I can't hold up my lids much longer. Bless you, Sam, said Frodo. Lie down and take your proper turn. But I'd rather have Gollum than orcs. At any rate, he won't give us away to them, not unless he's caught himself. Damn! But he might do a bit of robbery and murder on his own, growled Sam. Keep your eyes open, Mr. Frodo. There's a bottle full of water. Drink up. We can fill it again when we go on. With that, Sam plunged into sleep. Light was fading again when he woke. Oh, that's not what Jin's talking about. Light was fading again when he woke. Frodo sat propped against the rock behind, but he had fallen asleep. The water bottle was empty. There was no sign of Gollum. Mordor dark had returned, and the watchfires on the heights burned fierce and red. When the hobbits set out again on the most dangerous stage of all their journey, they went first to the little spring, and then climbed warily up. They came to the road at the point where it swung east towards the Icenmouth, 20 miles away. It was not a broad road, and had no wall or parapet along the edge, and as it ran on, the sheer drop from its brink became deeper and deeper. The hobbits could hear no movements, and after listening for a while, they set off eastward at a steady pace. After doing some 12 miles, they halted. A short way back, the road had a bend a little northward, and the stretch that they had passed over was now screened from sight. This proved disastrous. They rested for some minutes and then went on, but they had not taken many steps when suddenly, in the stillness of the night, they heard the sound that all along they had secretly dreaded: the noise of marching feet. It was still some way behind them, but looking back they could see a twinkle of torches coming round the bend less than a mile away. And they were moving fast, too fast for Frodo to escape by flight along the road ahead. I feared it, Sam, said Frodo. We trusted to luck, and it has failed us. We are trapped. He looked wildly up at the frowning wall, where the road builders of old had cut the rock sheer for many fathoms above their heads. He ran to the other side and looked over the brink into a dark pit of gloom. We are trapped at last, he said. He sank to the ground beneath the wall of rock and bowed his head. Seems so, said Sam. Well, we can but wait and see. And with that he sat down beside Frodo under the shadow of the cliff. They did not have to wait long. The orcs were going at a great pace. Those in the foremost files bore torches. On they came, red flames in the dark, swiftly growing. Now Sam too bowed his head, hoping that it would hide his face when the torches reached them. And he set the shields before their knees to hide their feet. If only they are in a hurry and will let a couple of tired soldiers alone and pass on, he thought. And so it seemed that they would. The leading orcs came loping along, panting, holding their heads down. They were a gang of the smaller breeds, being driven unwilling to the Dark Lord's wars. All they cared for was to get the march over and escape the whip. Beside them, running up and down the line, went two of the large fierce uruks, cracking lashes and shouting. File after file passed, and the telltale torchlight was already some way ahead. Sam held his breath. Now more than half the line has gone by. Then suddenly one of the slave drivers spied the two figures by the roadside. He flickered a whip at them and yelled, Hey, you, get up! They did not answer, and with a shout he halted the whole company. Come on, you slugs, he cried. There's no time for slouching. He took a step towards them, and even in the gloom, he recognized the devices on their shields. Deserting, eh? He snarled. Or thinking of it? All you folks should have been inside Udun before yesterday evening. You know that. Up you get and fall in, or I'll have your numbers and report you. They struggled to their feet and keeping bent, limping before like footsore soldiers. They shuffled back towards the rear of the line. No, not at the rear, the slave driver shouted. 3 files up and stay there or you know it. When I come down the line, he sent his long whiplash cracking over their heads. Then with another crack and yell, he started the company off again at a brisk trot. Yeah, what's up, Jen? What do you mean? Sure, you're not just wondering about things. I, for one, do not believe that. Well, I have cabin luggage, so I do not even have a suitcase. I only have a piece of luggage. Of course, I trust you. What the fuck do you mean? Of course, I do. But when you write nothing cabin luggage, I can take a bag which is 40 times 30 times 20. Um, yeah. Yeah, like a handbag and a small suitcase. But I'm gonna take the bag which I'm usually using for my travels when I only have a cabin bag. Everyone, there's a jump starting. Jump, 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 jump. Hmm. We are gonna jump, jump. We are gonna jump, jump. And all of you need to join, join. Let's see who gets the Easter egg. Huh. It looks like nobody. Hmm. Yin just landing on top of Earthling. Okay, so we're gonna have a short ad break in like 20 seconds. And then we will have the last 2 pages of reading. And then we will have to find someone to rate. So I will be back in a little bit. See ya! And it's a blob. I'm back. Ugh. It's a very loud bunny hop. Hop, 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 hop. Bunny hop. Bunny hop. Yeah, you nutcases. You're awesome. It was hard enough for poor Sam, tired as he was, but for Frodo it was a torment, and soon a nightmare. He set his teeth and tried to stop his mind from thinking, and he struggled on. No, I'm not laughing. You are. The stench of the sweating orcs about him was stifling, and he began to gasp with thirst. On they went, and he bent all his will to draw his breath and make his legs keep going. And yet, to what evil end he toiled and endured, he did not dare to think. There was no hope of falling out unseen. Now and again, the orc driver fell back and jeered at them. There now, he laughed, flicking at their legs. Where there's a whip, there's a will, my slugs. Hold up. I'll give you a nice freshener now. Only you get as much lash as your skins will carry when you come in late to your camp. Do you good? Don't you know we are at war? Definitely in that case. They had gone some miles, and the road was at last running down a long slope into the plain, when Frodo's strength began to give out and his will wavered. He lurched and stumbled. Desperately, Sam tried to help him and hold him up, though he felt that he could himself hardly stay the pace much longer. At any moment now he knew that the end would come, his master would faint or fall, and all would be discovered, and their bitter efforts be in vain. I'll have that big slave driving devil anyway, he thought. Then just as he was putting his hand to his hilt of his sword, there came an unexpected relief. They were out on the plain now, and drawing near the entrance to Udun, some way in front of it, before the gate at the bridge end, the road from the west converged with others coming from the south and from Barad-dûr. Along all roads troops were moving, for the captains of the west were advancing, and the Dark Lord was speeding his forces north. So it chanced that several companies came together at the road meeting in the dark beyond the light of the watchfires on the wall. At once there was a great jostling and cursing as each troop tried to get first to the gate, and the ending of the march, though the drivers yelled and plied their whips, shuffles broke out and some blades were drawn. A troop of heavy armed Uruks from Barad-dûr charged into the Dirthing line and threw them into confusion. Dazed as he was with pain and weariness, Sam woke up, grasped quickly at his chance, and threw himself to the ground, dragging Frodo with him. Orcs fell over them, snarling and cursing. Slowly on hand and knee, the hobbits crawled away out of the turmoil, until at last, unnoticed, they dropped over the further edge of the road. It had a high curb by which troop leaders could guide themselves into black night or fog, and it was banked up some feet above the level of the open land. They lay still for a while. It was too dark to seek for cover. if indeed there was any to find. But Sam felt that they ought at least to get further away from the highways and out of the range of torchlight. Come, Mr. Frody, he whispered, one more crawl, and then you can lie still. With a loud, despairing effort, Frodo raised himself on his hands and struggled on for maybe 20 yards. Then he pitched down into a shallow pit that opened unexpectedly before them, and there he lay like a dead thing. Dom dom dom. Yes, yes. Okay, so we need to find someone to raid. And I know exactly the fluffer we need to go see. I like this person. And for everyone who is here. Yeah, fluffer. Can I get some raid messages in chat? Because now we are going and seeing Kyoki. They are a nice person. Okay, then I'm gonna do it myself. Okay, so grab the raid message which fits you, and then we go and say hi to the to Kyoki. Yeah, I saw right after me. It's just raid now, Earthling. It's just raid. I have put the messages together. Maybe on your screen, but not on mine. But yes, let's go and say hi to Kyoki. And then I will see you all next Sunday, where we are going to read 2 chapters. Very exciting. 2 whole chapters. One of them is Mount Doom. No, you're not. Stop that bullshit. Okay, see ya in 3 seconds. Bye bye.